Welcome to another Full Access Thursday, right? Full Throttle Thursday, we call it now these days. Appreciate
Okay.
y'all being with me. Couple things. First and
Huh?
foremost, today I had an opportunity to sit down with an interesting gentleman by the name of Bob Tenenbaum.
Yes, sir.
Robert Tenenbaum is his actual name. And this is somebody that was
I got jealous.
part of the prosecution against the Hillside Strangler in Los Angeles, and then he spent 10 years as a New York, the chief division of the New York Homicide
He
Department. You
walked
want to talk
walked
about
home with me,
seeing murders and crimes and things
painting
like
and stuff,
that.
and Dusty started coming
But
towards us, and we ran
also,
off.
the other part of this is that he was part of the congressional testimony in, I believe, the 70s on the JFK assassination. And he wrote a pretty interesting book called That Day in Dallas. Lee Harvey Oswald did not kill JFK, and it was an interesting interview. It was a lot of fun. It was about 30 minutes or so. And so what I'll do is I'll drop that one for Friday night. So for tomorrow night, I've already edited it and got it ready to go. But yeah, I haven't done an interview in a little while because of everything that's been going on. But we'll certainly get back to doing more of that. So let's talk about some other things that are going on right now in Washington. Well, first and foremost, the media is basically trying to say that, and not just the media, Republicans, Democrats, they're all ganging up on President Trump, and they're all saying that the tariffs aren't going to work, that the tariffs are going to cost more money when we buy our groceries and our food, and we're going to go into a recession. All these crazy things that they're talking about. Meanwhile, they forget the fact that he did it once before and it worked, and we had the greatest economy ever. Now, the stock market today sadly dropped 1,700 points, I think is what it said. NASDAQ down 6%. So they're taking a hit. Now, my thought process is that they're doing this on purpose. They saw that it worked last time, and they don't want President Trump to be successful again, because if he's successful, the country's successful, that means they're going to be out of power eventually, and it's going to really help JD Vance in 2028. At least those are some of the thoughts that I have. So let's go around and discuss what everyone else is thinking here. So it looks like we've got, let's see who was first here. So we've got Jeff, and then we're going to go to Liam and then Glenn. So, Jeff, in Australia, there, what are your thoughts? I mean, we saw President Trump use these tariffs. He certainly didn't do it to the extent that he's doing it now, but there's been a lot of action here. And of course, he called it, what did he call it? Independence Day or whatever it was. What are your thoughts on this and the tariffs?
And I think tariffs are a good thing. And you can play the I tariff you tariff me. Gets a bit dirty. Eventually, you find a level playing field, and hopefully, it's only a small nominal fee in regards to tariffing each other, and it's reciprocal. I think that will open up free trade, and it may. I haven't looked at it yet, but it may have a big influence on dumping. You know what dumping is?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Well, because I worked in a stainless steel company, BHP, and when the economy went down, like in the UK, they would dump stainless steel onto the Australian market at a very cheap rate, and that would really, really hurt the local industry. I'm looking forward to eventually looking at it's just going to be a roll-on effect between
Yeah,
tariffs and dumping should be
yeah.
banned as well.
Gotcha. Well, look, let's face it. The economy is bad not because of President Trump. The economy is bad because of the last 4 years of actual atrocious economy. I mean, in every aspect, from gas prices to energy costs to rent costs to mortgage costs to, everything. I mean, everything just went up, went crazy because of what they did and all the inflation. All he's doing is trying to, like, it's like a snowball that's coming downhill, and he's just pushing it back, trying to get it over the other end, so that once he gets it over the end, then it kind of rolls all the way back down the other side. Liam, what are your thoughts here? So let's see, you're 22, is that right?
21. Close enough.
21. Okay, so in the first Trump term, my goodness, you were pretty young, weren't you? You were pretty young, so I don't know if maybe it's even a good reference point, but I don't know if you remember, but the economy was really good before the pandemic
Yeah,
hit,
it was.
of course. So what are your thoughts on the tariffs?
I was just reading some articles and I pretty much agree. It's that way of doing the bully pulpit. I mean, if these countries feel like they're going to be taken advantage of, then they don't have to do trading with us, but they've been ripping us off for so long. So I don't know. I mean, it's reciprocal anyway. So what, 29% in, no, 40, I think it's 46% in Japan when we send our products to them, but 29% when they come here. It's like, how is that fair? So if you make it even.
Right. And the other thing is these are not even reciprocal. I mean, they're close to reciprocal. He didn't even go as far as I guess he should have. You know what I mean? Where he could have just blanketed whatever your tariff is, that's our tariff. Easy, cut and dry. Would have been even easier. He didn't even do that. He actually gave some of the countries a break here. So
maybe I misread that, but yeah, I'm all in favor of it.
yeah, absolutely. So, Glenn, what are your thoughts? You obviously lived through the first Trump administration. You remember how good the economy was. Is this just all, tariff fear porn, just trying to stop him, or do you think that they're going to work or they're not going to work?
Well, I think it's going to work. I'm sitting here looking at the numbers right now on my phone. China is at 67% is what they get from us. We're getting 34% from them. And I think there's 7 countries that it's straight across, 10%, 10% for us. And then all the rest at Vietnam's 90% that they charge us.
Right.
And here they are at 46%. So if you're going, like you were saying, even for even,
Mhm.
What is that going to do for the Americans in the long run? If people are going to go, well, if it's going to cost that much for them to get theirs and mine over there, then it's going to come to our favor, I believe, in the long run.
Yeah.
It has to.
And the thing is, look, for Canada, look at how high Canada charges for some of their goods. I mean, it's absolutely insane.
Yeah, and that's not even on here for some odd reason. They're not showing Canada or Mexico. They're just showing the other countries.
Yeah. Well, I think what they're trying to do, at least from Congress's standpoint, is they're saying, okay, you can have your tariffs, but you can't have them on Mexico and Canada because we have the USMCA. Well, we need to renegotiate once again that trade agreement because even now that trade agreement is still unfair. And it was unfair to begin with. Obviously, NAFTA was horrific, right? But then they renegotiated it and it was like, oh, okay, it's a little bit better. That needs to be redone again as well. So
wasn't there certain ones that Canada and Mexico they're getting a break on, but then our tariffs to sell like chicken, I think it was like at 160%.
Yeah, or eggs, I think it was.
Yeah,
one of them. Yeah, eggs was really, really high.
And then, but they're bringing, they can bring their stuff in for almost nothing.
Right. Exactly.
So, I mean, wouldn't that boost our economy if we just said, well, hey, we're not going to use their product. We're going to, we'll just start using our own, put our own people to work and, so one way or another, it's got to me, the wrinkles have got to come out when you start ironing it out.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right, Carol, what are your thoughts here on these tariffs? We remember 2017 when he took over, right? And then it took a little bit of while. It took about a year, right? And then once 2018 hit, boom, the economy was awesome. And remember, it wasn't even close to the amount of tariffs that he's put this time. So in my opinion, it's going to be exacerbated that much better when the economy finally kicks in and, and recognizes all this stuff. But what are your thoughts?
I agree with you completely. I just worry about, the fake news and everybody trying to make a big deal out of nothing. And we're always getting screwed, especially, by Canada. And supposedly we're the ones that's securing the border. They don't pull their weight at all. We've been getting screwed for years and years and years by all these countries. He's just giving us a fair deal. And we need to take up for ourselves, and everybody that wants to act like, oh, we're doing this and now there's going to be poor kids in Africa not going to get vaccines. And people are so stupid. I mean,
They are stupid.
whatever, but
They're
yeah,
stupid and they're impatient. And
Yeah.
the impatient part is what we have to worry about here. Carl, what are your thoughts here on the tariffs? You remember the tariffs from the first term. They obviously worked. I believe they're going to work again. What are your thoughts?
Well, if they worked the last time, they ought to work again. But I've been hearing people say, "Oh, tariffs are gonna cause the economy, cause a 1929 crash type thing." It's probably the fake news saying that stuff.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah,
left.
exactly. All right. So Walter, you're next up, and then we'll get to Pam. We saw the tariffs work last time. We're seeing a lot of this panic porn, if you want to call it that, as you know, the guy from your state, Kennedy, always likes to say on TV and in interviews. I think it's going to work. I think it's going to work even better and even faster. But right now, the American people are still suffering with this bad economy. Are you worried that they're not going to kick in time? What are your thoughts?
Not at all.
Not at all.
It's short-term pain, long-term gain.
Exactly.
Trump's already shown that he knows what he's doing when it comes to the economy. He's setting us up for success over the next literal 20 years, and people are freaking out because we've had 2 days of a market drop. I would gladly trade 100 bad days for a prosperous 20 years. So
Absolutely.
I think it's I don't think it's anything to worry about at all. Trump knows what he's doing. He knows how to leverage the financial power of the United States. All these other countries are standing up now just because the one world government cabal is panicking. But once it sets into them that, okay, my people are really going to start getting hurting once Trump goes into full attack mode with these tariffs, and then they'll back down, and we will at the very least get an even playing field.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a pretty smart assessment as to what's happening. I also think again that it's going to happen, the recovery is going to happen even faster this time, because the amount of tariffs that we've done from what we did last time is tenfold more. You know, where in the past we just took, what was it? I think it was 7 or 8 countries that we renegotiated tariffs with. This time we've done, what's the list? 40, 50, 60? I mean, it's a pretty big list that they have done this with. So Pam and Jeff, what are your thoughts here? You remember the first Trump economy. It was an excellent economy. It took a little bit of time, obviously, to kick in, but once it did, that was it. Free sailing until, of course, the pandemic. So what are your thoughts on the tariffs?
Yeah, I think Walter has hit it on the head. It's going to be short-term pain with long-term gain. The last 45 or 50 years, all of these companies have been shifting all their manufacturing over to China or India or wherever the cheapest slave rate is going at the time. And so now I think with these tariffs, it's going to come back here, and we'll actually be able to have Americans do the job. Americans can always do the job. They just can't make a living at it. So I think the real unemployment rate right now is around 24, 25% if we measured it the way we did back in the 70s, because many people have just given up trying to find a job where they can actually make a living. And that's what the government wants. They want us to be their dependents. That's what one world government, they want you to be a drug addict or addicted to something that they have control of, so that you're going to be their puppet. And I'll let Pam pick up, but I think it's going to be good. It's just that in order to get all the good jobs here, and I work for a concrete contractor, and it looks like there's factories going up all over the country, just everywhere. Ford, car companies, battery companies, every kind of manufacturing there is coming back here because we can probably build it better. And with a new factory, we probably can build it more efficiently.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Pam.
And I'm the shopper of the family. I do most
so is my wife.
Yeah, the groceries, and we had to buy a computer last weekend. And that was an experience. It's, more expensive than you think. I think it's been so bad for the last 8 years. We had to buy a new car a couple of years ago, and I was shocked how expensive that was. And then COVID, we had so many problems during COVID with businesses being shut down. And so there's so many other factors going on. We have the private equity buying out private equity. So I'm hearing about businesses like Tuesday Morning and Joanne. They're not going bankrupt. They're being bought out and then put out of business because the people who bought them make more money if they go out of business. And so I'm learning a lot about other things. It's not just the tariffs. So I just listen to a lot of stuff and try to figure it out.
And they want to kill hand skills. They don't want people sewing and making their own products.
Well, look, I mean, I think that, like for instance, when Barack Obama years ago said, "Well, how's Trump going to do that? What's he going to wave a magic wand and bring these jobs back?" No, he's going to use tariffs. He's going to use leverage. He's going to use his brains, right? And that's exactly what he's doing. So to wrap up this little segment, I see it this way, okay? There is $6 trillion in 75 days that has been committed to our economy. I want you to think of how big that number is, okay? Think about this. 999 billion, 999 million, $999,999. You add $1 to that, and that's 1 trillion. You've got 5 more of those. The amount of money that is being pumped into this economy, we've never seen before. Never, not this fast, certainly, not this big of a commitment. And the fact that they are doing this, if they can couple this with the Constitution pipeline, which will basically cut gas down to $1.50, $1.60 a gallon almost instantly, and it'll save probably $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 on electric bills in the New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine areas. The pipeline is in New York, and of course the environmental idiots are fighting against it. All the other states have said, yeah, let's do it. Let's lower our electric costs. Let's drill, baby, drill. And what does Trump always say? Oil underneath our feet, liquid gold. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And not only will it help that area, it will help the rest of the country as well, because we'll be that much less dependent on foreign oil. And also, if the Keystone Pipeline takes a little bit more time, or perhaps ANWR, reopening ANWR takes a little bit more time, we've got 3 or 4, maybe even 5 by now, American exploration activities and jobs that we are going to hit and explore in the next 11 to 18 months. So I say the same thing. There's so much money coming in. You've got the Gold Card, which is a brilliant program. They've already sold like more than 1,000 of those at $5 million a pop. So there's so much coming in. The thing that I worry about is that if, God forbid, the midterms were right now, Republicans would probably lose and get slaughtered, sadly, because people have short memories and they look at what's going on now. They can't see in the horizon. They can't see a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, and they panic and they go, oh, well, Trump's not doing anything. It's just as bad as Biden. Let's vote for the Democrats again. That's what I'm worried about. And that's why President Trump needs to make sure that a lot of this stuff gets done quick and liquefies into the market so that it can go through the market and recover the market. And it's going to take some time. Like I've said before a million times, this year is going to be rough. No doubt about it. But I think by the end of the year, October, November 2025, you're going to start to already see some of the benefits of everything happening. But you have to understand how much money they spent with COVID and what was it, like $7-8 trillion? I mean, it's an astronomical amount of money. And that brings me to the next question here. And we're going to start backwards so that we're going to go in reverse here. So we're going to start with you, Pam. So right now, the tax cut bill to make the tax cuts permanent. He wants to build more wall. He wants to do everything for immigration. There's a whole bunch more that he's putting into his one big beautiful bill, which I think should be about 8 separate bills personally, because they're a lot easier to get done, but whatever, I'm not in control. So he wants to do this quote, one big beautiful bill. Now, the Congressional Budget Office and others have said that that tax cut bill could cost as much as $8 to $9 trillion. So here's my question. If we were to do that and add another 9 trillion or $8 trillion onto our 37 trillion, I mean, that's an astronomical number. What is that, $46 trillion? Is it worth it to do that, number one? Or number two, should he wait and see what happens and try to bring in all this money to pay down the debt first? I know what I think he should do, but let's hear from you. Pam, we'll start with you and we'll go back the other way.
Okay, so I'm trying to follow exactly what you're saying. So you're saying Trump is proposing a giant
A
tax
massive, massive
Okay.
bill to put the tax cuts in permanently, to lower the capital gains tax even more, for money for funding for the rest of the border wall. Gosh, there's so many other things that are part of the bill. I don't even have all of the information in it, but there's like another 30 to 40 other things that they want to do, including all the spending cuts, cutting this, cutting different parts of the government, selling off buildings. I mean, it's a lot. There's a lot there. So, but again, they have to raise the debt ceiling again, and they have to borrow all this money again. What are your thoughts?
I'm not thrilled about raising the debt ceiling. Maybe a less severe tax cut to try to get that debt ceiling down.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. Walter, what about you? So there's a possibility of trillions upon trillions of dollars more on the national debt for these tax cuts and spending and the border wall and everything else. What are your thoughts?
I think he should wait because he could counterbalance that if he waits a year or maybe 2 years. Once Doge really gets running and he really starts cutting jobs and saving money, then the effect on our economy, number one, won't be as harsh. And number two, as far as public relations, when they try to hammer him with that, he can come back and say, well, I may be adding 10 trillion, but I've already subtracted 2. So it's not as bad as you're making it out to be. And that would have some kind of perimeter of success, that he's doing both, maybe adding to the debt, but he's also cutting spending.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. What about you, Carl? What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, I agree with he probably said either he ought to either split it up in several bills or maybe, or you're thinking 8 bills, or he ought to split them up, but well, group them accordingly or whatever. But yeah,
Part of the reason they like to throw them all in one is because they force other people, they call them poison pills. So they force certain things for other people to vote so that everything's included in one. And that's the wrong way. I agree. That is absolutely the wrong way to do it. You know, we should have a line item veto. We should have smaller bills. We should not do these, like he says, one big, beautiful bill. So, all right, Carol, what are your thoughts here on this?
I agree with Scott. I kind of agree with Scott's thought process. That's kind of where I'm at. But I will say, kind of piggybacking on the other, what we were talking about earlier, talking about the economy. All the experts say, really, this is the time to start investing. You know, everything's going to go down. So it's kind of like they said, when you're buying stuff on sale, you know, you go and dress shopping, get everything on sale. Well, this is kind of like, you know, buying things on sale. So I think it needs to be turned into a positive, not to go down that road. But I feel like this is the time, if anybody wants to invest, start buying some stocks or whatever, do that. But for your other question, I'm right in line with Scott. I love having a lawyer on the panel. It's fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah, he's always going to have some interesting things. Usually he's a contrarian. He usually goes against everybody. But, you know, I do like the fact that he does that as well. Because, again, it makes it more interesting because it's not just an echo chamber. We got different views, and that's what's important. Okay, Glenn, what about you? What are your thoughts here? $9 trillion more to the deficit? Really? For tax cuts and all this other stuff? Yes or no?
No, what I,
No?
in my mind, what I would do, what do we have, like 6 months till the fiscal year is over?
Yeah, roughly, right about
End
that.
of September,
Mhm.
1st of October, something like that. I'd shut this fucking government down until then.
I would too.
You
I'd
bastards
love
are
to.
done. And then I think I did send you a message about that, you know, and I was gonna talk about it last week, but this firing of everybody and then these freaking judges going, oh no, you can't do that. Well, then I'm gonna lay your asses off. You're gonna go draw your unemployment for 26 weeks. After that, you can go flip hamburgers at Jack in the Box for all I give a shit. Because you ain't worth anything. To me, you're just useless. So, and I'm sorry to say that, but that's the way that they were raised and taught, you know, and that's how they're non-productive people in society. Give it back to them, but shut the
Mhm.
government down altogether. You know, you
Yeah.
use your police and your military, everybody that, you know, needs to be there. And then I had words with another guy. He said, oh, you know, the air traffic controllers, blah, 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 blah. I would shut all the major airlines and airports down too. All you would have is just the little guys that are in the cities. You know, you don't like taking jump flight planes, then walk. I don't care.
You know, it'd probably be safer to shut down the air traffic controllers because what are they all, deaf, dumb, blind, midgets, missing
Well,
limbs? I
and that's
mean,
what
the
that's
pilots
that's
too.
why I say about laying these people off. They're junk to me, they're junk hell. They're just
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's 216,000 that were laid off this month alone, according to the records that I saw. So that's pretty
I mean,
good.
all they do is they sit in a chair and they don't do anything, and then they want credit for it. And
Or
then
they're home in their bathtubs pretending to work, which is
right,
even worse, you
right, and
know?
they're sitting at a card table like a little kid
Exactly.
at Thanksgiving, thinking they're really the cool guy in the room. So, you know,
Exactly. All right. So Liam, what about you? What are your thoughts on this? Okay, you're a smart kid.
Okay.
So they want to add $9 trillion possibly to the deficit, raising the debt ceiling once again, and to do all these tax cuts and all these other things. So what they want to do are all positive and good things that'll help, but at the expense of raising the debt ceiling and then the deficit 9 trillion, is that worth it?
Well, here's my quick take. I mean, I could probably do some research and justify it or stand against it, but I mean, my quick take, I'm just against it. I don't really like playing with debt. My representative has taken a lot of heat in Chip Roy, and I will be voting for him next March if I'm still in this district. But yeah, he's standing against all this, saying it's not very accountable. It's too dangerous. I don't know if he said anything about this one, but way back in December when they had this pork barrel bill going through, and Trump was all on board with it. And I
Mhm.
understand that Trump has to keep everyone unified, but Chip Roy has a good point. It's just got to have some accountability and got to make sure all the pork is taken out of the bills. And
Yeah,
I just 9 trillion, no.
that's a lot of money, man.
But
That's a lot of money.
then you do some tax cuts, and it's like, okay, that's going to help the economy a bit. So um, I don't know, abolish Social Security or stop forcing people to join it, and that'll save some tax dollars right there.
Hmm.
There's my take.
Well, I think there's a lot that makes sense, but not now. Okay. And I certainly don't agree at all with spending $9 trillion. I don't care if the debt was down to zero. That's a hell of a lot of money. So we'll
yep.
get into that a little bit more. Jeff, I wanted to get your take here on this one before we move on, and then I'll kind of wrap it up. $9 trillion is a lot of money. I mean, that's more than most companies have, for their own, net worth, basically.
Yeah, that's more money than some companies than some countries have.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Look, I listen to everyone's comments, and everybody has put forward some good, valid comments. If I look at it, and personally, I don't think it's a good idea. And let's face it, if I went to the bank and I said, "Look, here's me, here's my assets, here's what's outstanding or money I owe. Can you give me a loan for this amount of money?" And the bank would look at me and go, "You'd have to have rocks in your head. That's an unacceptable risk."
Right.
I really think that if you have debt, you need to pay it down. And you can put a little bit of money to the employees and the people and everything, as in some tax cuts or some benefits in some way. But you've got to get rid of debt. Debt kills countries, it kills
Yeah.
people.
I actually
really
said
think
in my book that the worldwide debt of all the countries in the world was, and at that time when it was published was October, right, of 2024, it was $315 trillion. If you take what we owe on our debt and you add in the unfunded liabilities, we were 65% of the entire world's debt. That's not, a math issue. That's a travesty. That is national suicide, basically, is
yeah,
what that is. And so
yeah,
here's my thought on all of this. Congress can't be trusted. When have they ever really cut the government? Pretty much ever. They haven't. They've done these tax cuts. They're usually, for 5 years or a few years, and then they don't do anything permanent, right? They want to do it for 4 or 5 years because politically it's expedient. And then when they lose power, the other ones say, no, we're not doing it. And then the taxes go up again. So we've seen how many debt ceiling raises? 83, 82, something like that. I mean, it's
yeah,
just a disaster. They can't be trusted. So if the president is going to say with a straight face, I want to cut taxes permanently, I want to do all these things, oh, and the Congressional Budget Office, by the way, says it'll cost $9 trillion. You know what I say? I say, absolutely not. How about you show some proof that you can actually cut the deficit and you can cut the budget? Washington doesn't like to cut, they like to spend. And if they can codify, let's just say, I'll throw it out there, $1 trillion in cuts, permanent cuts from Doge, okay, then maybe you have a track record now that it's a new regime, it's a new game in town, and they're serious about the national debt. But you can't be serious about the national debt and then ask for $9 trillion. I'm sorry, you just can't do it. So I think it's more because it's not that I don't trust Trump. I don't trust Congress because they have a history of breaking their promises, number one. Number two, kicking the can down the road, all of these different things that we've seen and witnessed over these years. However, if they were to do this and it was to pass, I mean, not only is that an astronomical number, but how would you pay that back? How would you pay that down if
yeah,
Congress, God forbid, didn't do all of the things that we need to do? Now, I understand they're bringing money in, $5 million gold cards. Okay, great. $6 trillion coming into the market for manufacturing and all these businesses coming back. That's wonderful. How much of that, though, is going to be paid down towards the national debt? Maybe if you got the national debt down to 28, 29 trillion, then maybe I could see adding something like this, knowing that there's going to be that much more investment, that much more money coming in that would then be used to pay down the rest of the debt. I think it's a dangerous situation. I think it puts us in a situation where you would have hyperinflation, not just inflation, hyperinflation. And I think it would ruin all of the tariffs and all of the other things that he wants to do. So I'm hopeful that they back away from this thing because we can
yeah,
still make this economy great almost based on what we've already done already if we're patient and we just sit it out and we just roll it out. and see what happens. So I don't know. It's going to be very interesting, but that's like his signature thing. That's what he wants to do. He has finally done something that I suggested probably, I don't know, a month ago, maybe. Remember when I said that there's a budget rescission act that from the 1970s that you could use, where you could have the president of the United States ask Congress to rescind certain, amounts of money that has not been allocated or spent yet. It's called the Rescission Act. Well, guess what? Trump is now seeking Congress to do exactly that, says his top OMB official. President Donald Trump will be sending Congress a package of funding to nix and expects enough Republicans to vote on it. And then it says, during his first two confirmation hearings on Thursday, to serve as Deputy Director for Management at the White House Office of Management and Budget, Eric Ueland told senators that President Donald Trump and White House Budget Director Russ Vought have been very clear to us at OMB that the Trump administration will be sending a rescission package. And in other words, the stuff that hasn't been spent from, like, let's say, the falsely named Inflation Reduction Act, right? There's still a lot of money in that. We can pull that back. We can take some of the fraud from Doge that they found. We can pull that back. But now we need Congress to act. And see, that's the problem. You can have the greatest president in the world that wants to do all these wonderful things, but if Congress won't get off their ass, that's the problem. And it's such a sad situation because this is like a once in a generation opportunity to do all of what we need to do. And yet we have Congress, still not on board. And now they're talking about passing another bill that takes away some of the tariff power from the president. So it's going the opposite direction. And now they want to talk about 9 trillion? Absolutely not. So it's Washington as usual. Maybe Trump's not Washington as usual, but it certainly seems like everybody else seems to be. So let's see. Chief Justice Roberts' secret friendship with Trump prosecutor Norm Eisen exposed. Look, I've said for the longest time that he is a major, major problem. Trump helicopter had a problem with one of their wheels. Had to switch helicopters. I'm just kind of going through here, looking at if there's anything else in here that makes any more sense to talk about. So it looks like they're trying to go after Pete Hegseth now for this Signal story, which is a non-story. So it looks like the Inspector General for the Pentagon is launching an investigation into him. This is just more politics. I mean, they're not going after all the other things, Afghanistan, the fall of Afghanistan, all the different things that they've done. It's just ridiculous, that they're doing this, but that's Washington for you. So, all right. So the tariffs are now in, he called it Liberation Day is what he called it. I agree. And I agree with what Carol said too. Buy. Absolutely. As the market tanks and the stock prices drop, go and buy. Buy. And again, I'm not a financial advisor by any stretch, but we bought a little bit of extra Tesla. We bought some other stuff because now is the time. Gobble, because when it goes up, it's going to go up big, and if you buy it now, it makes a lot more sense. So, all right, let's see. So the Senate is planning on, having a vote-a-rama tonight, whatever the hell that means. Let's see. So we cut 216,000 this month. 90,000 are going to be cut from the military, from what I understand. And now the Senate is setting up a final budget sprint. GOP senators now look ahead to tomorrow's overnight vote-a-rama. After an hours-long delay in the last-minute rallying of the troops, Senate Republicans took the first step Thursday. Yep, there it is. The blueprint that would unlock the one big beautiful bill. So that's what they're planning on doing. And if the Congressional Budget Office is correct, it could add as much as $9 trillion. That's insane. That is literally insane. So, all right. Anybody else got anything else? I kind of was a little short handed today.
Jeff,
Yeah.
Jeff down there, down under has something. He's been
What you got, Jeff?
wanting to say for an hour now.
Did you want me to?
Sorry about that, bud. I get going, I look at the camera, I don't look down, and so that's
Yeah.
what happens. My bad. What's up?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Look, it's in relation to the previous subject you were just covering. In the government wanting to reclaim unused funds.
Yes. The Rescission
Yes.
Act.
We had a prime minister that came in with a new election. His name was Tony Abbott. A lot of people think the sun shines out of his backside, but I don't. I was working in my trade with a really good company, doing a fantastic job, producing the best product, and they had contracts with the water companies and the rail and also electricity, and they were brilliant. And as soon as Tony Abbott came in, he went, whoa, okay, our government allocates those departments a certain amount of money to cover maintenance and expansion improvement and so on. So on his first day, he said, I want all that unused money back, which effectively cancelled all of the contracts, even for multi-million-dollar jobs that were almost built, half built, quarter built, just cancelled everything and caused this unbelievable company that I worked for to go into liquidation. So
you've seen it firsthand.
I've seen it firsthand, mate, and it cost me my job, which then led to me having to, I got into difficulties and because I couldn't service my home loan. And in the end, I had to sell a property that could have, a big property, could have been worth 1.5 million Australian. And I ended up, I only got 700 because I couldn't service the loan. And it just totally ruined me. So you've got to be careful. If the government says we want to pull that money back, they've got to be selective as to where they came from. Yes, gay rights and all of that rubbish, laundry stuff. Yes, but pull it out of public services and so on.
Gotcha. Okay, it looks like Pam and Jeff, you have your hand up, and then I can't tell. Liam, it's cut off at the top. Did you have your hand up as well? Okay, I'll get to you next. So go ahead, Pam and Jeff.
Yeah, my local gasoline went up 30 cents a gallon in the last 7 to 10 days. I'm wondering if you've seen gasoline go up where you are.
I honestly haven't seen, they were talking about all these things about gasoline going down, but I haven't seen much here in Arizona as far as gas prices going down. I mean, they haven't been going way up either, but I mean, I've seen 349, 345, things
Well,
like
2
that,
days ago, I paid
339.
$5.07, 507.9.
That's a
And
lot.
that,
Well, that's California too for you. So.
yeah, so I don't know if a tax kicked in or if something else was going on, but
I don't know, but
and
you know what they just did in California? And Newsom, I think, is supporting this. For speeding tickets, they're now going to base the penalty on socioeconomic status. How unfair is that? So you can You can go 100 miles an hour in a 55, and because you're poor, you don't get an expensive fine or whatever, but someone that is wealthy is going 62 in a 55 and they have to pay more money. That's totally unfair. And they just started talking about that in California. Did you hear about that too?
Yeah, from what I understand, I thought it was the city of San Francisco or the county. Both city and county lines are the same in San Francisco. So I thought it was just that, but not the whole
Marin
state.
County?
Well, Marin County borders San Francisco County, I believe. So, but Newsom lives in Marin County. So, but that's a wealthy county.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
well,
But
maybe
it's
it's
just unfair.
because the illegals are crashing. The illegals are crashing, causing car crashes all over the country, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Okay.
They can't speak English. They can't read the signs. They don't know how to drive.
Okay, let me go to Liam first and then Carl. Liam, what was your question?
Yeah, a couple of things. I guess for just sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. Just to see if we have any so I've lost my mind here. The heated topic, that's what it's called, about Trump doing a third term.
Oh, yeah, we can talk about that. Well,
Yeah.
first off, let's do this. Let's go around and ask. We'll start with you because you brought it up. Are you for that or against it?
I'm gonna say against. I mean, obviously, I
Okay,
vote for
I
Trump.
want to do
but-
this quick.
Okay.
Carl, what about you? And then what did you want to also add, but also answer the question? You're muted, but there you go.
Okay. Yeah, okay, well, I had a comment. Reason why they there's something about this time of year they start switching over to summer blend on the
Right,
gas.
yeah, and that could have
That's
been
why the gas price goes up.
that could have been part of it. What are your thoughts on a Trump third term? Yay or nay?
I don't know. There's a ad or something I've seen where it shows they're playing some music and it shows 2028, 2032, and on and on and on and on. Shows a
Yeah.
picture of Trump.
Okay, Scott actually just piped in and said that it sounds good to him. Glenn, real quick, third term, yes or no?
Nope,
No?
nope.
Okay, Carol?
I mean, I don't understand how he can do that, but
Regardless of whether he can or can't, would
No.
you support it?
but I just think we got to follow the rules. So
Okay, Jeff, I know really doesn't matter too much to you, but if you had that in Australia, what would you be supportive of it or not?
No, on the principle that
No,
it could
okay.
set a very dangerous precedent.
Exactly. Walter, what about you?
Same. No, I mean, Trump
Okay.
he can wield his influence at any time, no matter what his position is.
Got it. Jeff and Pam?
No. How about
Good.
you?
Good. Well, I'm glad everybody says no because I am fervently against it too. And the reason I'm against it, as I said before, politicians are like dirty diapers. They need to be changed and changed often, even the good ones. And when you have a situation where they're pushing for a third term, it does a couple things. Number one, the left has been calling him a dictator ever since day one. Since he came down the escalator, he's been the dictator. Now all of a sudden he's talking about a third term publicly. A, he's either putting a bigger target on him, God forbid, but B, he's validating their argument that he's a dictator and the left can run around and go, see, we told you he's never going to leave. Okay, that's the other part. But the other part, and what's more important than all of it, is he may be great. That's fine, and he is. But what about, God forbid, when he's not in office, and now all of a sudden we've opened this up for not one, not two, but now 3 terms of a dictator in the future? Hell no. Not interested in that at all. And honestly, this can hurt JD Vance in 2028 because the left is going to say the narrative, oh, if you vote for him, you're really voting for Trump's third term because he's going to step down and then Trump's going to be put into office. This is a very dangerous argument that is happening right now. I don't understand Steve Bannon and this, third term project. These people are insane. They need to keep their mouths shut. They need to go away. And look, JD Vance seems to be a good standard bearer, seems to be able to carry the MAGA movement, America First movement, and principles and values moving forward. Shit, all he has to do is take this Ferrari, which is what it'll be at the end. It's a candy apple red Ferrari in perfect condition, and he's going to hand the keys to JD and go, here you go, JD. Don't crash it up when you're going around the turns. Drive it carefully. That's it. That's all he has to do. And say, I'm going to run and I'm going to be America first and I'm going to go by, President Trump's policies, and he'll win in a landslide, and we'll keep, the Republican Party in power for the foreseeable future. But now all this doubt, I can see the attack ads coming, years from now. This is not good. This is not good. So I really hope that he would stop saying it, or at least come out and say, oh, it was just a joke. I'm really going to leave. I don't have another term, something like that. But, you know, the damage is already done. He's literally saying, well, there's a couple of ways we can do it. And I'm like, what the is wrong with you? What is wrong? I don't get it. These people sometimes just don't think past, you know, their nose. What about the future? It's crazy. It's really, really, really crazy. So anyway, those are my thoughts for this evening. Can't wait to hear all of yours. Put them down in the comments, and we'll see you on the next one. Stay with me for some other stuff.
Bye-bye.